Being in Toastmasters, what is the simplest thing that you can do? People?
Give speeches. Not simplest, but still a starter.
Okay. Well, according to majority of people, the simplest thing to do, being a Toastmaster, is being the audience. And the toughest thing is to come onto the stage and give that speech. So, if this is the most difficult item to do in your Toastmasters to-do list, and if someone could give you a formula how to decrypt the speech creation activity, do you think your journey as a Toastmaster could be a bit more worry-free?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So let's try to see what's the magic recipe that goes into making a good speech. Right? Will we be projecting the sheet? If not, that's fine.
Can I just distribute it?
Yeah, start distributing it and then we'll go ahead. So, it is said that a journey of 1,000 steps begins with one step. And if it is all about giving out some good experiences to your audience, you will always require your own experiences to be presented to the audience, isn't it? A very famous person says that the amount of joy that you give out while you are experiencing something good is way beyond the joy that you can get while you're trying to seek it. So says Sadhguru. And what I wish to present to you today is a learning of these 4 years of being in Toastmasters on how you can come up with some content for your speech in minimal amount of time. Alright? My story of why I got into Toastmasters begins before Toastmasters, where I was into incubation programs where we are trying to get our startup incubated. A startup that had absolutely no head or tail. It just had a concept that the ladies or the housewives need to have an alternate source of income. And with this idea came out thousands of other associated ideas with which people could actually do it. I ended up with a specific concept related to soilless horticulture. Everyone is amazed. How can you grow something without soil? This is not something new. This is not something that I have invented. It's been there for about 80 years now. And in India, also, we are using this technology. But how do you make this available to the end audience? That was a call that we had to figure out. The incubation program that I went through was very, very stringent. If you don't progress in your idea through the sessions, you will be kicked out of the session. And something happened in these 40 sessions where I had to present my idea. Every single session, there used to be 3 top performers. And I used to be one of them. The other 2 used to be fluctuating. And people started asking me, how is it that we 2 are presenting the same kind of information, but every time the judges change, they give us less marks in one and more marks the next time. Frankly speaking, I too didn't know how this was happening. But I could consistently give a good presentation for the 40 sessions that I had to go through. In the last day of the training, one of the mentors came down to me and she mentioned, KK, your idea will take a long time to blossom, but until then, don't stop presenting. That is something that will keep you in the race. I had no clue where else could I present. And I figured out Toastmasters is one such platform where you just have to present. So I took that up. Now, if presenting is what I need to do, what are the interesting components that I need to really master over so that people who are listening to me always would want to listen more. And hence, I had a guru in neuro-linguistic programming. And he taught me some secrets which I thought I was already using but I didn't know. And that's what we will like to share today. This would be the basics of communication that you might want to follow in any amount of presentations that you want to use. To begin with, how many senses do you have?
6.
5, 6? The sixth sense?
Five
Who's it?
plus one. Yeah.
Oh, okay, there was somebody else also. Okay. So, if there are these 5 senses that are common to everyone, how many of these senses do you use to communicate with people? All? Okay, let's first remove the senses that we don't usually use.
Taste.
Taste. Yeah, how would you taste someone and talk to them?
Yeah.
That would be difficult. So we still have the animal kingdom that uses it well. We though belong to the animal kingdom, we don't use the taste part very much. The other part is the olfactory, smell. I hope I did come here, Harish, and tell him that you smelled very good today. That would be funny. So, let's discount the smell part also. The reason why you have to discount the smell part is because in human beings we have something called as olfactory adaptation, which means that if you smell something, within 15 seconds you would forget that smell, or you get used to that smell. Even if that smell continues in the same room, you wouldn't come to know. But someone who just comes into the room will come to know about it. Right? So these are the disabilities in the human system that don't allow you to use 2 of your senses. The other 3 senses is what makes you communicate with people. And these are the 3 senses that you can use to your advantage to communicate. So what are the other 3 senses here? Sight, touch, and hearing. Hearing comes out of audio. So audio would be both speaking and listening, right? Now, before we go into specifics of these 3, let me just share a little experience that I had in the same idea incubation program where I am now a mentor. So I presented this problem that even for the same presentation, the judges would score differently for the same set of people. And this is unfair. So the system asked me to get into the place and say, how can we change this? The very first day was introductions. Just like this room filled with people, we had 30 young and old entrepreneurs who were just trying to get their idea to the next level. And of the many tables, there was one table with 3 people, and when the introductions came to that one table, this is what happened. The first gentleman stood up, and this was his introduction. Hello everyone, my name is Ramalingam. I am an executive member in the Ford India manufacturing unit. I have a total experience of about 20 years, and I have my own ideas of how we can get some traditionally required items in your daily requirements, and I want to logistically improve it for making it available to everyone. So I'm trying to see how to build up on this idea. He gives this introduction and sits down. The person sitting right next to him is a very interesting person, and this is how he introduces himself. Hello everyone, my name is Mohammed and I'm 17 years old. I'm definitely the youngest person sitting in this room, so if I do anything wrong, you have to excuse me. I have over 52 certifications. I am Google's only STEP-enabled trainer for India, and I have over 12 publications around the country. I am due to get my presidential award in the next 1 month for my last finding, which is a planet, and I'm working with the ISRO agency to name that planet against my name itself. And he sits down. Well, sitting in that room as a mentor, even I wanted to run away. Person with this much accomplishment is trying to get teachings from mentors. I was really sorry for the person who was going to speak up next. The person sitting next to him stood up. And of course, after getting this big juggernaut introduction, he was shy to introduce himself. He stood up and he moved his hands around. It was absolutely fine. And he says, I am a graduate from Indian Institute of Science and I am into protein. I am trying to get a platform ready which will help us expand the way people can come up solutions for cancer treatment. And he sat down. This was the most ideal desk for any neuro-linguistic programming coach to describe. Because these three specific people are three people who use one specific sense extremely. Let's decrypt these three people. And why this is necessary is because you need to understand your audience before you start creating your content. Right? So the first person, Mr. Ramalingam, who stood up and spoke, he was well intonated, he was not speaking very fast, and after giving his entire introduction, he handed over the stage to the next person. These type of people usually look into the eyes of people who are speaking, look into the eyes of the audience who are there, and they intonate their voice regularly. They look out for questions from the audience also. Guess what type of a speaker are these? We classify them as audio speakers. Why? Because they always try to resonate with the audience. They look out for hints on how and what particular aspect of the speech is the audience or a member in the audience really resonating with. And if you have a question, he would stop. He would ask you that question. So, if you are presenting a speech over here, and if you have to have eye contact with so many people without having them in a wrong or a bad mood, what is it that you're really looking out for? There's something the speaker has to understand. So, if you're intonating your voice and suddenly someone is interested, this person could also be an audio speaker. And your chances of resonating with this kind of a person is high. Let's go on to the second person, who is definitely a genius. You can't compare him with anything. This person spoke very fast. He had a lot of information to give out. And in this process, he would not look into anybody's eyes. You know the reason why? As soon as you look into someone's eyes and you are a visual person, you get lost in his eyes. And you forget what you are speaking. So, there is a train of thoughts that he has, and he wants to put it out to you. Every thought is a picture for him. And he is giving all possible description of this picture and is putting it onto you. One picture is equal to 1,000 words. So imagine this poor creature. He has to give out a whole story of a moving set of pictures to the audience. Hence, if you interrupt such a person, he would not like it. Because you broke his thought process altogether. And he would speak as fast as possible because there's too much to say. If you are such a speaker and you do not look into the eyes of the audience, the evaluator will pick you up and say that you do not have eye contact. But that's okay. You are a visual speaker who has a big picture that has to be put up. And if you just look into the eyes, you then suddenly can't connect back to you. The visual person. And the third person. It's not about the confidence with which he stood up and spoke. It was about what he was doing. He was fiddling with his hands. And after every sentence, he is trying to feel something. These are called the kinesthetic people. Kinesthetic people require the feeling part to resonate with them. Which means that if you're an extremely slow speaker and you always want to have something to be around your fingers, or you keep fiddling around with your ring or some other object in your attire, it's just that you want to complete the circuit of a communication channel by touching onto that one. The only problem here is that you do it so frequently that people say that this is a pointer of your nervousness. Well, it is actually not. You just need to figure out what are the other ways you can do the same thing without making it very obvious for the audience. So, we covered 3 senses here: visual, audio, and feeling. Let me quickly give you one final example of how a kinesthetic speaker could be. How many of you have heard our ex-Prime Minister, Atal Bihari Vajpayee? How does he speak? Let me give a quick demo of that. Mere pyare deshvasiyo. Quickly run outside, get a cup of coffee and come back in. His next sentence will only start after that. आज का दिन हमारे लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है. Wait for it. Go get your extra sugar. Come back, sit. He'll only then continue. Now, for people of this stature, all they need is that one object which is not visually visible to the audience, but is available just right there. The problem with such people, when they try to fiddle with the mic, is that it starts making noise. They can't even touch that. And these people have excellent ideas. They talk with feeling, and they have lots of great ideas. Problem is, the rate at which they speak, not many people want to listen them through. But if the person happens to be the Prime Minister of the country, you really have no other option. Right? So these 3 senses is what each one of us can resonate with the audience. Isn't it? Now, you know how the audience is going to be. They can't be of any other type. The question that you might have is it necessary that someone is always only visual, only kinesthetic, or only audio? No. When we all grew up with the same 5 senses. It's just that after we started working, we started getting inclined to one of them a bit more. And that is why when someone speaks very fast and you don't like it that way, you just disconnect from that person. It could be your boss at times. An example where 2 different set of people are communicating, let's say an audio person and a visual person. The audio person is the employee and the visual person is the boss. You have been given a task to complete and the boss is expecting some results. The task was to go to a particular place, come back over here and report what is happening. And you come in absolutely fully charged up and then what happened. So I went here, then this happened, and then this happened. I went here, the person was not there, so I arranged for somebody else and then finally got it up. Boss just says, great work, can you just send me an email? He needs to see something. Did you give him anything to see? No, you didn't. He kept speaking. The disconnect. Right? Now, what happens when it is an audio wife and a visual husband? A simple example, which is usually taken up from the attorney's office. Usually in the US, they sit there for divorce and stuff. So, what is the reason why you're separating and things like that? So, the husband says, I don't know. Look at her. All that she's wearing is the most expensive things that I can hardly afford, but still she's wearing it. I am able to provide it to her. Look at the place where we are staying. Look at every single thing that is there in our lives. Everything is so great. I do not know why she is leaving. The wife says, or tells the attorney again, can you please ask him, does he remember when was the last time he told I love you? audio wife requires something else, while the visual husband was just providing everything that can be seen. Now, 3 senses and a whole set of audience. How do you connect with them? And every single speech that you create has to have the components that you need to endorse into your speeches so that you can start connecting with people right away. Now, for the next 12 minutes, I am going to share a little tool that I have come up with, using which these 3 senses that you have talked about, or rather heard about, you can put this into action in this 2 pages, and within a matter of 10 minutes, always come up with the content that is ready to go onto this stage. Okay? There is a supplementary information that I will be providing to Rashmi. It's about the same 3 senses and what are the words that each of these sensory people would expect to hear from you. Use all these 3 set of information in a balanced diet in your speech and make the content which is good enough to connect with almost everyone in this in the room. Okay, so that will be your assignment later. You would have 2 pages with you right now. Do you have it already?
Yes.
Okay. Let me help you decrypt those 3 pages, or 2 pages. So, how many of you have finished giving your first speech here? Better question would be, how many of you have not presented? So let me just give out those instructions based on that line. The first speech. Alright? Any speech that you give on this stage has 3 basic components. If you do not have those 3 components, you would be marked down on this. First is the opening, body, and closure. Now, if it is your first speech, which is about yourself, how much information would you have to present to the audience? Plenty. 20 years at least of your experience, and you can give that out in 4 to 6 minutes. That's too much information, isn't it? So let's chop out everything in your 20 years or 30 years of existence and bring out what are the best aspects that you would like to present to the audience.